for us individually, everything that we're walking through, everything that we will go through, blessings that are to come, trials that are to come. Leave them all at your feet. Love you, Lord. Thank you that you be here in this house of the Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. I know you've been discussing kingdom matters the last couple of Wednesdays, and I just want to talk a little bit about faith. Now, if you look at the earthly or physical world, this earthly or physical world, we have lots of things. We have to deal with money and currency and cars and homes and bills and jobs and all of those different things. And we know and understand that this physical world is not the only thing in our existence, that there is in fact a spiritual world. Can we agree on that? Okay. And it seems to me, like take for example, your prayers, meditation. If you were to transfer prayers and meditation to the physical world, that almost would seem like it would be like the roads. If you want to get somewhere in the spiritual world, do so through prayer or meditation. If you want to turbocharge it, start fasting, all right, kick it up a notch. It seems to me that some things can transfer back and forth, just really as an example. And if we're living here in this physical world, and we make purchases and transactions, and get things, cash, money, things of great value, the currency of the spiritual world would be faith. Okay? The way that you transact, improve your situation, conduct business and affairs in the spiritual world is through your faith. Faith is the currency of heaven. And when Jesus teaches us, he gives us extreme examples. He says you should have faith like a child. And when you think of a child, or let's say you take that infant or a toddler, and perhaps a mom or a dad walks through the door, what does that child do? The child will run up to the father, they jump into his arms, and he has complete faith, one, that he's going to be caught, right? And two, that he has no worries. This is where I'm going, I'm running up, my father is there, my mother is there, and I'm okay. They're not necessarily thinking about what's beyond that. And let's take a more extreme example. Let's say you have a child, and place that child on a roof, a flat roof. What is that child going to do? The child's going to run towards the edge, and what? And run off the roof. Right? The child has complete faith. They're not worried about being hurt. They're not worried about any damage to themselves. They're kind of all in. Right? You take the same child, a toddler, and you put him on a beach. And you put him down and you let him go. What is that child going to do? He's going right for the water. Right? Complete faith. Everything's fine. And what happens if that child hits the water and there's nobody there to protect him? It's going to get bounced around, battered around, made around. That doesn't matter. The child is all in. And Jesus gives us that example that he wants to have faith. He wants us to have faith like a child. It's an extreme example. And it seems to me that a lot of the times this is an area where we like to think we have a great amount of faith, but I'm not so sure we're at the level we would like to think we are. Now, if he gives us that example of a child, it seems at one point in the scriptures, he's admonishing the disciples. And he says, "O ye of little faith." It's in Matthew chapter 8. And he's explaining to them. And in that chapter, there's a lot of things going on. And the disciples come to him, and he essentially admonishes them and says, "O ye of little faith." And also in the scripture, we know that we're told to really worry about what we're going to eat, our clothing, and those sorts of things. It doesn't seem to make sense, because when we're here in the physical world, that's what most of us think about most of the time. Our physical needs. But Jesus teaches us that that is really kind of something he doesn't want us to spend a lot of time on. And for us, it's a little bit difficult to comprehend. When he says, "Listen, you're much too valuable to me. I don't want you worrying about what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, what you're going to wear." Now, for us, we can go a while without a meal. We can go a while with used clothes or old clothes on our backs. It's something that we spend a lot of time on, but for Jesus, it's almost kind of reversed. He thinks in a massive level. He thinks in kind of a macro level. So he tells us in that same chapter that if you have great faith, or even if you have a little bit of faith, and he gives us another extreme example. It'd be like you can uproot a tree and toss it into the ocean. Now, what does he mean by that? That you have faith, you can uproot a tree and toss it into the ocean. So he's trying to get us to think on a much grander scale. He wants us to think about bigger things. Massive faith. Large amounts of faith. He also gives us the example of what? Faith as little as a mustard seed, and you can move a what? A mountain. Right? So we are asking for faith that our car starts, that we can pay a bill, that we can make sure the electric is turned on this month. And when Jesus is teaching on faith, Jesus is talking about throwing trees into the ocean, moving mountains, massive, incredible things. Do you see the difference? And that's what I want us to focus on here tonight. I think once you start demonstrating a great deal of faith, the smaller things tend to start working themselves out. And even if they don't, you have the faith to overcome them. Okay? Now we see in the scriptures as well, and I have my notes handwritten. I'll type up my notes. If anyone wants my notes, they'll be available after tonight. I'll leave some in the back on the table there. You can pick them up with all the scriptural references. But we also see the Apostle Paul. He tells us that he reaches this level of faith where he's doing these amazing things. And he also says, right, whether I'm free or whether I'm in chains, it doesn't matter to me, I'm content. Right? Whether I have food, whether I don't have food, whatever. He says in whatever situation, he has learned that he's going to walk through it. So his level of faith is very, very high. He does things very few people can do. And he has come to a level where whatever physically this world brings at him, it's not something that's going to affect him. Because he is now at such a great level of faith, and he's experienced things at a different level. And I think that the Lord is teaching us and telling us that that is the way that we should operate. That he wants us to have great faith. So why are we fighting about a broken computer or something small when Jesus is teaching us that if you have even this much faith, you can move a mountain? Or uproot a tree and throw it into the ocean. So he's focusing on that, and we're focusing on this over here at a much lower level. And I want to share with you tonight, because I think if we all can increase our faith, we'll be moving at a level that is much, much greater and much more powerful, and we'll have greater assignments, and we'll be more effective, and we'll be content, and we'll be very powerful Christians. Very powerful Christians. He tells us that in the same book, Matthew, we see the centurion. And what does the centurion do? The centurion is a Roman soldier, and he comes up to the Lord, and the Lord, they have this conversation. He tells him what? Does anybody remember the story? Servant is sick, right? Okay, good. And the Lord says what? The Lord says, okay, so I can take care of this one, right? This is right in my bag. And the servant, or the centurion rather, he's not talking. Jesus answers him like he's down here. Okay, well, let's go heal the servant, right? They're like, look, this guy's a pretty good guy. You know, he will take care of him. So Jesus is talking to him at this level, and the centurion addresses Jesus back at Jesus' level. What does he say? He says, Lord, you don't need to go anywhere. You just say the word, and it's done. Right? So the centurion, and then what is Jesus is taken aback by it a little bit, right? And he's like, whoa, I haven't seen faith like this. And he's surprised. And why was he so surprised? And for many of you mature Christians or who've been around a while, you've heard this story 100 times. Right? But the key in that passage is the centurion knows that he's at a level of faith where the physical world no longer is controlling the Lord or anything else. He can make his request to the Lord with faith, and time and space does not matter. And the Lord responds. Now the Lord can respond at the level that he comes to the Lord in. You understand that? So once he sees, oh, he's here, now I can respond to him in that way. You see that? Because if he's down here, he thought he was down here. All of us can operate at that level, right? Well, we can, and that's why we're here, but we're not all doing it. So it seems to me that it's available to everyone. If it's available to the Apostle Paul, and it's available to a Roman soldier, then it should be available to you and I, right? So we should be able to move and work and walk and live at a great level of faith. This is the currency of the spiritual world. This is what gets things done in heaven. When you give a tithe, there's lots of people that give money to churches and charities and those sorts of things. And you give and you give. And it does what it does. But it has power when you put your faith behind it. Right? You give it love, and then you have faith. Now, it has power. Does everybody see that? Okay. It seems to me that the Lord wants us to increase in power and maturity over our lifetime. And some of us are going through challenges and struggles and hardships, and it's breaking us down and deteriorating us instead of making us stronger. If you are operating at the high level of faith, this physical world becomes secondary. You can move through it almost with ease. So when you're praying in a great deal of faith, and you say, Lord, I need this, I need that, and it increases your faith, it really doesn't matter whether the Lord answers it or not, because you have the faith to get through. Whatever happens, happens. Now, He wants to answer our prayers. He's an incredible God. He's a loving God. He is on your side. If you don't know that, hear it now. He is pulling for you. He wants you to strengthen and move in maturity and bless others and have a healthy family. He wants you in His Word. He wants you. All of that is true. But we're talking about the kingdom. And when you live and operate in the physical world by the physical world rules, you have limitations. But when you walk and live in the spiritual world, and you understand that great faith will get you anything, then you are at a different level. You are at a different level. Let me talk about Pastor Paul. Pastor Paul is awesome. Pastor Paul has great faith. He has big faith. Pastor Paul is not worried about the neighbor across the street who lives on Bay Avenue. Let's go get them saved and get them over here and get them into church. This church has been here for 50 years. For the last 5 years, easy. Anybody on this block could walk over here and get food, clothing, fellowship, love, prayer, whatever they want. Pastor Paul has faith for the entire county and the entire state. He is believing for a massive wave and a move of God. Peace, prosperity, spiritual wholeness, big things. That's what he thinks about regularly. He's not thinking about the smaller things and the smaller faith. It's why I'm proud to call him a friend and my pastor. Because I know he's not only praying for me, he's praying for everybody in this state. He's thinking big. That's his burden. And that's his blessing. That's why he goes to Africa. This is not a mega church. We're a small, powerful church. He doesn't have to go on mission trips. Why would he do that? Not everybody does that. He goes to Africa, he pours in, he feeds into people, but what also happens? He gets supercharged, and he comes back, and his faith is increased. It's mutual. That's how the kingdom works. And he comes back, and he feeds us what he's gone through and what he gets over there. That is a good leader. And honestly, he needs our help. If you come here regularly, and if you're watching on YouTube or listening via audio, you should be a part of this church. Come help, find a role. We're not going to throw you into the sharks day one. But we're trying to do big things here. If you want fellowship, if you want love, if you want prayer, some of the greatest times I've had have been laughing and watching the games with some of the men that go to this church. It's big picture stuff, barbecues and picnics and retreats and all of that. That's why he's doing it. Every once in a while, in history, God gives us somebody that's like an example. So throughout the course of all humanity, every once in a while we'll see somebody that reaches a level that we really didn't know was possible. I'll give you an example, like a Billy Graham. Right? So you go out, you have tent meetings, you go out, you have revivals and these sorts of things. And Billy Graham was extremely gifted where he could show so many people, millions, over his career, about how to turn away from a destructive, spiritual dead life and come to spiritual wholeness. And throughout the church's history, we see different people, some that have incredible healing ministries that almost seem too good to be true. And they reach these levels, and now it should increase our faith. We should be able to say, wow, I didn't know that was possible. That's what I want. I'm going there. Lord, is that for me? What can you do if I have no restrictions? With my gifts and my talents. Well, there was a man named George Muller. Has anybody heard of George Muller? George Muller lived in the 1800s, and he was in England. And he was a contemporary of Hudson Taylor, Charles Spurgeon, and several of the others. That time period, that century was a very, very important century, not only for America, but obviously for England as well. And George Muller is one of our examples, one of the saints in the church that really kind of broke the mold with faith. His faith was completely through the roof. And if you haven't studied or read anything about him, and you start to read about him, it will encourage you and it will increase your faith. And he was a minister. He lived almost for the whole century. And somewhere around 1830-something, he was a minister and an evangelist. He pastored a church for 66 years. There was sickness and cholera and epidemics going on, and he felt that there needed to be orphanages for the children. And very, very quickly, he founded the first one, just started moving with faith. He is one of the textbook examples in church history about how you can have incredible faith. He never, not once, asked anybody for money. He only asked the Lord, and the Lord provided. And throughout his life, he built several orphanages, and he's credited with helping and serving over 10,000 orphans in that country. One man. And he was married twice. He outlived his first wife. He outlived his second wife. He was an incredible, incredible man. And his faith, if you read the stories about how the need came, and he had the faith, and the Lord provided. He was at that level, kind of where the centurion was. He would relate, okay, I have great, great faith, and I'm going to get a great response. And there's one story, obviously you would have to do that. If you are entrusted by God with over 10,000 children, I mean, that's a massive responsibility. God gave me one, and he saw it. You see what I'm saying? Like, Rory, you can't have another one. Right, so he gets entrusted with over 10,000 children. Think of the mark that he's left. Still today, the children of the children of the children that are alive, have families, have fed into that country because he took those children in and clothed them. There's one story where it's a famous story regarding George. There was no food, and he got all the children in this orphanage to sit at the table, and they set the table, and there was knives and forks, and they sat, 300 children were sitting, and he just had faith that food would show up. And sure enough, I don't know how long they were sitting, but a knock comes at the door, and a baker comes and says, you know, the Lord kind of stirred me and woke me up and said I needed to bake bread for the orphans today, and provides all of these loaves of bread for the children. Very shortly thereafter, another knock comes at the door, and there's a milkman with a milk cart, and his cart breaks down in front of the orphanage, and he comes and knocks on the door and says, I have to go fix this wheel. If I leave the cart, somebody's either going to steal the milk or it's going to spoil. You can have it. And all 300 kids, it's almost as if you read, you know, with the feeding of the 5,000. I mean, that's what he lived. All the kids ate breakfast. But the point is this, there was no food. And he sat down, and the kids are there with their forks. And he has to, because what would you do? What would I do? I'm going to go out and try to find some food. I'm going to ask somebody, I'm going to go beg, I'm going to go steal, whatever I got to do. Right? I would not have had the faith to sit at that table with 300 kids, but he did. And that's how he operated on a regular basis. If you read some of the stories, they needed a boiler. He's like, yeah, the Lord will provide. It was how he operated. And he had lots of spiritual currency. Pastor Paul has lots of spiritual currency. So I'll ask you this question. Are you spiritually broke? How do we get this great faith? How do we get it? It's much like wisdom. You have to ask, right? And believe. Because in Matthew chapter 8, after he tells them, "Oh, ye of little faith," they respond. We see that the disciples, at this point they're disciples, they apparently get great faith because they turn into what? Apostles. And they're leading churches and they're speaking in front of, they transform. They go through the crucifixion, they see all of that, they're broken, they increase their faith, and they move on, and now they are also doing incredible things. But they didn't start out as apostles. They started out as like fishermen and disciples. They were students. And here in this chapter, they say, "Oh Lord, increase our faith." So we know that you and I, we can pray that the Lord would increase our faith. And then we have to persevere. And we have to believe. Right? How do you get money here in the physical world? You either got to ask for it or you got to earn it, right? Kind of one or two ways. But remember what the Lord says. The Lord says, have faith like a what? Like a mustard seed. But he also tells us like a child. And where do children get money from? They get it from their father. Right? They ask. Now, if we're talking about a spiritual kingdom and contrasting it with the physical world, and we're talking about spiritual currency, if you ask for it, you will receive it from your Father. What is, last point, what is the conduit? How does that work? Does anybody have a Bible? Or are we all on tablets? Somebody turn to Hebrews 12:2. Some of you know it. Hebrews 12:2. What is the conduit? How does it work? We ask the Father. Asking, no, Hebrews 12:2. Who has it? You got it? Nice and loud. I'll repeat it. Go ahead. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Okay, so we know that one, it's possible. There's an incredible amount of faith that we should be operating in, that most of us, if we're honest, are not. But we can get there, and we can ask for it. And the Lord says, just like a child, I want you to go all in. Stop worrying about the minor things in life. I'm going to feed you. You'll get through it. It may be hard. Yes, it might be tough. But I want you focusing on big, macro, large things, greater things. Greater things. And who do we go through? Who is the conduit? Jesus. And where is he? He's sitting at the right hand. So if anybody can get it released, it is him. Remember what I said, this is the last thing, and then we'll just say a brief prayer, about the centurion. Jesus will come at you and respond to your level of faith. So you want to increase your faith to great levels so that you can get greater assignments, impact greater people, lift your family, lift the city, lift the state, lift the nation. Big things. Big, big things. I'm going to say a short prayer, but this is really something that individually we need to work out amongst ourselves. Would you agree? Right? I can't go and ask, hey, Father, he needs more faith over there. Well, I can ask, but really, it needs to be you asking your Father for an increase in faith. And I promise you, Jesus will respond. And if you ask him for an increase in faith, he will give it to you. Father, we thank you for this night. We love you. We love your word. We love your examples. We thank you for the history and the text and all the things that you do for us. Thank you for an amazing worship service. We thank you for each other. We trust you for the rest of this week, for the rest of the summer, and for the rest of the year, Father, that we would mature and move in spiritual power as the children of a living King that we are designed to be. Father, let us not focus on the distractions and the minor temporary pains and inconveniences of this physical world, but we want to break through and move at a greater level. We trust you and we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.